Hey everyone, welcome to this podcast called Ken Reads, where I, Ken, read out your letter that you've shared with me in the hopes that I can better help you understand what the F just happened between you and the last partner you were dating, whether it was in a relationship or a situationship. I look at these experiences from the lens of attachment theory. I don't just come up with thought terminating cliches like, they're just not that into you, or if they wanted to, they would. While some of those phrases might have their benefit in other dynamics, I try and look at this from the lens of, is there perhaps an insecure attachment issue that's at play in these particular dynamics? And though I am an Australian counsellor, I am not someone who is going to be responding to these letters as if I was with a client. I'm here to provide validation, yes, but I can't provide any diagnoses on these. So even if, a lot of people might understandably hear this and be like, well, that sounds like a narcissist. At best, I'll probably say, sounds a bit narky. I probably won't go any further than that out of respect to my ethical boundaries in regards to what I can and can't do. If you find this of benefit to you, fantastic. That's what I want. And if you want to submit your letter, you're very welcome to once there is obviously availability per month. And I'll happily read out and share my own 2 cents as to what I think has gone on in your dating experience to offer you a sense of validation for what you've been through and also to give other people listening a chance to feel like maybe this relates to what they've also experienced as part of collective healing. So, with that all out of the way, let's dive in to the latest letter.
Hi, everybody. This is Megan Brito with Ken Read Counseling. Today, I'm going to be reading a letter submitted by one of our viewers. I am going to be reading this by myself. Ken is not here to unpack this letter with me. I do want to start with a brief introduction. As I said a moment ago, my name is Megan Brito. I am a coach with Ken Read Counseling. I support folks who are wanting to work on their own insecure attachment styles, as well as folks who have been blindsided and are processing a traumatic breakup with somebody that had significant attachment woundings impact their relationship. I work full-time as well as a registered social worker with the Ontario College of Social Workers and Social Service Workers. I provide addiction counseling to individuals in my rural Southwestern Ontario community, and I specialize in behavior addictions. So those are some of the things that I do. Like I said, I work part-time as a coach with Ken, and I love doing these letter readings. So I will be getting into this letter, and the submitter for this letter, I'm going to call her Jasmine, and the individual she was in the relationship with, I'm going to refer to him as Michael. So the letter reads, "Hello, I met a guy via Instagram about 6 months ago. We both have Instagram accounts about movie reviews. He wanted me to participate in his podcast. We had an amicable Zoom call, and after that, we started to become very good friends, to the point where he wrote to me every day, several times a day. He was also very affectionate, but never seductive. When I realized that we were really connecting very well, I asked him if he was married. He said yes. He talked to me about his family and that they were trying to overcome some difficulties in their relationship. Anyway, we continued talking every day as friends, but he often said that he felt a special connection with me, that he didn't believe in coincidences, that this was a special friendship. We had very sweet and deep messages exchanges. We talked about our passions, our teenage years. We exchanged photos of when we were younger, photos about special moments in our lives. We had more Zoom calls where we shared very deep and personal information about ourselves. He told me that his father was very strict and cold and abused him. And he had always been a people pleaser, and now he was learning to set boundaries. We both share that. He told me he was in a moment of a quote unquote shift in his life. His father had died. He was trying to process his mixed feelings about it. He was very much into Carl Jung, shadow work, and going to therapy. However, I got mad at him several times because I thought our relationship was not normal, being him married. He always replied instantly, trying to calm me down and saying he had no hidden agenda, but he eventually admitted he felt attracted to me. I felt some sort of attraction, were his words. But he also said he was confused and always had problems when expressing feelings. I told him I needed to think. After a couple weeks, the people pleaser in me, or maybe the fact that someone who has struggled with trauma my whole life and I didn't want to lose someone who truly understood me and seemed to care, told him we could be friends, that I would never pursue an affair with him, but that I wasn't stupid and I didn't want to feel manipulated like it had happened with most of my partners. He agreed, but then started to act more distant, more cold, and even arrogant. It took 1 or 2 days to reply to my messages. I asked if there was a problem. He said he had too many things going on in his life, and he started to say that I was being unfair to him, and I felt he was not taking accountability, making me feel I was making it all up. Finally, I called him out and I sent him a very harsh text. Okay, so before I read this text, I want to take a pause, and I did sigh a moment ago. Um, I'm just like, ew, I just feel this is just a lot of just disgust and a lot of ickiness reading this letter. I know that sounds like a very childish thing to say, but in the first paragraph, I think it was really within the first 3 or 4 sentences of initially reading the letter, in my mind, I said, this man is literally trying to have an emotional, he's not trying to, there's an emotional affair going on right now. Um, Again, there's still a little bit more of this letter left to read. This is a shorter one today, but um, even if there is no sex, no physical affection, no sharing of romantic feelings, an emotional affair that we have with somebody can be just as, if not more devastating than having an affair that people tend to think of as, like a romantic um, relationship where there's often sex, there's a lot of physical intimacy, admitting romantic feelings, even if that's not there, emotional affairs they're just as horrid. There is that level of betrayal. Um, so Jasmine, I really, really want to commend you for sticking your ground of saying, no, I'm not moving forward with an affair if that's what you're trying to do. And again, reading this letter, I know you said you have experienced a lot of trauma. And I want to make it clear, I'm not excusing kind of what's going on. And I'm not trying to judge or shame or blame you in any way, because I almost wonder if maybe you're not quite aware of what's going on. But Jasmine, I think unintentionally you fell into this place of almost being swept up and having an emotional affair with your coworker. So I'm not pointing the finger at you, but I just want to let you know I hear this is going on. So you didn't know, you're putting a stop to it. I really commend you for that. And again, really commend you for also saying, I am not moving this any further. I will not have an affair that, again, involves what we tend to think of romantic feelings, physical intimacy, all of those things. So the text you sent, Jasmine says, again, in quotations, by the way, you keep telling me I'm making it all up. You're the one who started calling this is a quote unquote special connection and even confessed an attraction. And still, I was willing to make this a good friendship. You know what this is called? Gaslighting. And it's the worst thing you can do to a person who has nothing but good intentions, someone who's been mistreated before many times. I told you I'm not stupid, and all I wanted was honesty. And still, you gaslight me because I'm not making anything up. Solve your issues that are clearly not caused by me. I'm too good to be the problem, and I'm too smart not to notice. He didn't reply. He has unfollowed me from Instagram. but hasn't blocked me on his phone. Some days later, I sent him a message via WhatsApp apologizing for my harsh words and wishing him the best. He hasn't replied, but still hasn't blocked me from his phone. It's been 3 weeks, no contact on any side. What I'd like to know if you can identify any type of attachment style in him. I know I'm anxious, and what could possibly be the reason why he hasn't replied even after I apologize. I know you do not recommend doing this, but I'd really like to reconnect with him. I think we both come from very painful life experiences and we really could support each other. I don't feel extremely attracted to him, to be honest, but I do really miss the friendship. He doesn't seem to want to hear from me ever again. Thanks in advance for your help, Jasmine. Okay, so again, very, very short letter today. It really was a pleasure to read. Um, so again, Jasmine, with this, um, as I said, I truly believe this was not intentional, and I still stand by this up and throughout the entire letter. I don't even think it was intentional, or you realize that I think you were swept up in an attempt to have an emotional affair. And I think the reason why he's not responding is because he's behaving like a selfish, um, narcissistic jackass. I know that's not professional or really kind for me to say. That's how he's behaving. Um, and you said, no, I'm not tolerating this. And he got offended and he felt like, we can say things like he had his ego bruised, but the fact that you are not reciprocating this relationship any further, and that felt really harsh to him. That felt like judgment, that maybe felt like some type of criticism, or and really it's a very fragile ego that you have decided not to continue stroking. So that's a big reason why he responded very harshly to you. And, as you said, kind of called him out maybe on some gaslighting behavior. I did touch on this concept in a different letter. I think I read it with Ken. I don't remember if I read it solo or with Ken, but someone else said, I feel like I'm being gaslit. So the proper use of gaslighting, the proper way we use this term, from a clinician, even though I'm working as a coach in this capacity, it's still important to not overuse and misuse these words because they do lose their meaning, and they have meaning for a reason. Is that when we talk about gaslighting, this is something that is very deliberate by an individual, that is done over a period of time. This is not a one-time occurrence. It is done over a period of time with the goal of making you question your reality, question the situation, so that then you go, I must be crazy. I must not be right. It must be from like this, what this person is telling me must be true. And the person sharing this information who is gaslighting you is deliberately twisting the truth to fit their agenda, to avoid accountability, to hold control and power over you. So that is what gaslighting is. Possibly some gaslighting going on in here, but really when we look at it through this, again, the proper way of using the term, I don't really think it fits. I think this is more of somebody who really wanted to have a connection with you that was deeper than a friendship. And when you called him out on it, he didn't like it. Again, I recognize maybe not the most kind or polite or possibly mature thing for me to refer to this man as behaving like a jackass. I'm not saying he is one, he's behaving like one, but I absolutely hear narcissistic. He's not a narcissist. We do not have enough information for that. Narcissists are actually very, very thought out, and it's very deliberate in their behaviors. Again, that's a word that's overused a lot. but they're much more sophisticated and they really continue to find ways to create and reinforce chaos. So we all have narcissistic behaviors. We actually need to have a healthy amount of narcissism. That's for things like self-identity, being able to share wants and needs, knowing and understanding that what you have to say or who you are matters and what you have to say is important. There's healthy narcissism. That's at one end of the spectrum. And then at the far, far other end, which is not a big chunk of the population, are people that have narcissistic personality disorder. So most people are at the opposite end. That's much healthier when we talk about narcissistic behaviors. But again, if we kind of creep toward the other side of the spectrum, you can have narcissistic behaviors. We often see that with people that have really severe attachment woundings, will behave narcissistically, but do not have actual narcissistic personality disorder. So I really hear that coming from this man, very self-centered, very arrogant. As you said, he was very distant and cold. I hear him pulling back because you're not stroking his ego. And when we talk about attachment woundings, we talk about people that have avoidant attachment, fearful avoidant attachment style, anxious attachment style, or even secure attachment. All of them. I should have just prefaced that. But when somebody really has severe attachment woundings, we don't pick that up from one instance. So I know this letter was just one instance. I don't actually have enough information to say what a possible attachment style is. That's also not something we can pick out in one thing. But what I can say is that this behavior wasn't okay. We may possibly, maybe if we can see folks that tend to have a fearful avoidant attachment style do that, where they want to lean in and get connected and pull back and then come back around again. But there's not enough information for me to say anything about it. So again, I think with what you shared, I did enjoy reading it. Again, it's still a horrible situation you went through, Jasmine. Not okay. Wouldn't wish it on anybody. Honestly, I would flag this with HR if you have HR at your work, because this is just unacceptable and gross from this man. Don't, I know you said you want to reconnect with him because you do see, pain from him. You have experienced a lot of pain. And I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't do. That will not be my place. But I just want you to reflect on, if you do decide to, he's married. This man is in a relationship, and I don't think that his partner is consenting to him talking the way that he does to his colleagues, anybody outside of the home. So I do want you to keep in mind that if you do choose to continue this conversation, I hear for you. Maybe you do want a genuine friendship, and that's okay. I'm not gonna, say you shouldn't want that. But it's not about wanting, it's really looking at the reality of the situation, and you would be playing into a dynamic of having an emotional affair with somebody. So it's not about your want or the intention. You have to look at the actions and the impact of what's going on. And that is, you are going to choose to have an emotional affair with your colleague. That's not okay. I'm not gonna condone that. So I do want you to reflect on that. If you do decide to contact him again, if you do decide to pursue any type of relationship, it's not going to be what you want. So this was very brief. This was very short. If folks have any thoughts or want to place anything in the comments, please feel free to. Again, Jasmine, I apologize. My intention isn't to come off harsh today or judging you or criticizing you. It's really just trying to just be honest and share what I'm seeing. So that is, again, just not enough information to decide on an attachment style. And again, not quite enough information, you know, to say specifics about what could be. It's narcissistic, it's selfish, um, possibly fearful avoidant, but again, I don't have enough to say that. And again, I know you would like a friendship with him, but you're really just going to be enabling an emotional affair. And I don't think his partner knows that. And it sounds like you don't want to be that person. And I would also highly encourage you not to. But as I said, at the end of the day, I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't do. I obviously can't make decisions for you. So I do hope this was helpful. I do hope that folks listening and for Jasmine, you did get some value out of this. I always enjoy reading the letters. And thank you again. So wherever you are, I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you again soon.